Welcome to the latest episode of the B Movie Club. I'm your host, Kevin. This week we're going to be talking about that horror classic, The Howling, directed by Joe Dante, starring Dee Wallace, Patrick McNee, Slim Pickens, John Carradine. It's a very strange cast, to say the least. This is the first time joining us. Just to tell you what the B Movie Club is. Each week, I'll post on Facebook and on Twitter the movie we're going to be discussing, and our subscribers can go ahead and post their favorite quotes, their favorite scenes, any questions or comments they have about the movie. Typically, they can go on Netflix and watch it streaming instantly, and it's like a book club, basically. We can use the internet and basically have a discussion about it. We'll talk about it on the show. So again, this week, The Howling. Basically what it is Dee Wallace, who you might remember from E.T., The Hills Have Eyes, a few other things, Cujo. She's a news reporter named Karen White, who was recently contacted by this serial killer. So she's working with the police to try to track down this killer. So in the struggle, the police shoot and kill the serial killer, but she's very traumatized. She saw something during the meeting that affected her so strongly that she's blacked it all out. So she goes and talks to this famous psychologist who is on her news broadcast, who recommends that she go up the coast and spend time at this therapeutic community where there's group therapy and people talk about their feelings and all that good stuff. It's called The Colony. So she goes up there with her husband, who I guess he's very supportive, but they've been having marital issues also. So she's dealing with that on top of everything else. So they go up there. And everybody's friendly, but there's all these little things about it. It's little clues that things are not quite right. And as she spends time there, her husband starts acting a little differently. He was like a vegetarian, now suddenly he's eating meat off the bone. It's all very strange. Meanwhile, back in LA, her TV reporter friends, went to the house of the serial killers and discovered all this kind of werewolf memorabilia, pictures that he had drawn of wolves and all sorts of kind of bizarre things that made them go we need to check this out more. So they actually go and try to look at the body of the serial killer, and wouldn't you know it, body's missing. Anyway, I don't want to give away everything, but there are werewolves in this movie. Not everybody is who they appear to be. Originally, The Howling was a book, and they basically took the plot from the book and made the movie. Joe Dante had worked with his screenwriter, and they had worked on Piranha several years prior to this. Later they went on and made Gremlins and Gremlins 2. So the movie's very self-referential. If you watch it, there's a lot of little clues. There's a framed photograph of Lon Chaney, Lon Chaney Jr., who played the Wolfman in those black and white Wolfman movies. Somebody will be eating chili out of a can, and it's Wolf brand chili. Somebody's reading a book, and it's Howl. The characters in the movie were all taken from famous directors who directed werewolf movies in the past. For example, Patrick McNee plays the therapist, the famous doctor, George Wagner, and that was the name of a famous director of werewolf movies. The soundtrack, I was laughing about it talking to my wife. It's heavy on the organ, like you'd imagine movies from the black and white era of horror movies, like with Bela Lugosi. A lot of organ, to say the least, almost distractingly so. So anyway, originally the special effects guy who was going to do this movie was his name was Baker, and he actually quit the show to go work on American Werewolf in London, which came out the same year, and his assistant Rob Bottin took over all the special effects, and I think they were nominated for Academy Award for their work in this. One thing that I found kind of interesting about this is that there's really only one person who was killed by a werewolf over the course of this movie. I mean, it's like an hour and a half movie. It's a horror movie, but only one person really has, trouble with the werewolf. And I was thinking to myself, it's like, well, I mean, that's what's going to happen when, spoiler alert, when our hero goes up to this community and everybody, spoiler alert, are werewolves. If they kill our hero, then I guess the movie's over in like 15 minutes. So they have to build up the tension, you know what I'm saying? And it isn't until, spoiler alert, the friend comes up to visit that finally they can kill somebody that's not going to just end the movie. There's a lot of good stuff in it. Like I said, it's very self-referential. It's almost like they're kind of jokingly saying, yeah, we're doing a werewolf movie. I know when it came out, Roger Ebert gave it a big thumbs down. But Gene Siskel gave it a thumbs up, so not too bad there, right? It went on to spawn a boatload of sequels. Howling 2, Howling 3, Howling 4, Howling 5. Earlier this year, they actually came out with Howling Reborn. So there you go. 30 years later, they're still pumping these suckers out. None of the other ones had anything to do with this original movie. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. It's a lot of fun. The guy who plays the serial killer, who actually, he comes back, spoiler alert, he's a vampire, or a werewolf too. Not a vampire. He's a werewolf too. Spoiler alert. I said I wasn't going to give everything away. I guess I have. Anyway, they quoted him as saying, because the big werewolf transformation that occurs halfway through the movie, it's basically, his role wasn't that big. You know what I mean? He's literally in 10 minutes of the movie, and 5 of that is him transforming into the werewolf. And he was saying, it's like, I studied drama at Yale, I was on Broadway, and now what I get to do is spend 6 hours in a chair getting made up to have my face melt, essentially, because that's what it kind of looked like when he's changing into the werewolf. And he was told by somebody, it's like, you know what, now you learned you need to read the script all the way through next time. That's good advice for all of us, I think. Anyway, it got a 63% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. You know what? I think that's a travesty. It's at least a 66, 67%. No, it's actually a lot of fun. There's some good scenes in it. I know there's one scene in particular that was rated within the top 10 of the scariest movies by Bravo. So there you have it. That means it's great, right? Anyway, as you know, I like to end every episode with a totally out of context quote. And here it is. Wow! The news lady just turned into a werewolf, Mom! There you go. Hope you enjoyed it. Next week, I'll be doing the James Bond Octopussy from 1983. I realize not necessarily a B movie, but hey, if I'm going to do a B movie club, I got to have a little Roger Moore in there. So good times. It is streaming instantly on Netflix, so check it out. You can send me your questions or comments, favorite scenes, favorite quotes, onto my Facebook page. You can do it onto my YouTube page. You can tweet me at KD9575. Thank you for joining us, and be well.